Hey there, math friends. Today we are taking a look at extending unit rates. But before we get into that, let's remember some of the important things to remember about unit rates in general, okay? So, thing to remember, the very first thing we want to remember with unit rates is we want to make sure that you know what are you comparing? What two items are being compared in your unit rate scenario? Okay, are you comparing miles to gallons, distance over time, cost per unit? What is being compared? That's the thing. You have to remember those things. That's very important. One of the other things you need to remember is what are you being asked to find? What are you looking for? Because if you don't know what you're looking for, how will you know when you found it? Right? How will you know when you found it? And some other things you need to remember when we're dealing with unit rates. Remember, there are no mixed numbers, okay? All mixed numbers have to be changed into improper fractions. No mixed numbers, just improper fractions. Or regular fractions. It's okay to have regular fractions, you just can't have mixed numbers. And the other thing you want to make sure is that your units in your proportions match up. You want to make sure that if you're comparing miles to gallons, you have miles on top on both sides of your proportion and gallons on both sides in the bottom. So you want to make sure that your units match up. Those are 4 important things to remember. So with that said, let's take a look at our first question. It says Kadim's new car used 2 2/3 gallons to travel 130 miles. How many miles can the car go on 1 gallon of gas? All right, well, that sounds just like a regular unit rate question. But then there's an extra question down below. It says, how many miles will it go on a full tank? So how many miles can it travel on 13.2 gallons? So we know that the car uses 2 2/3 gallons of gas, and it'll go 130 miles on that amount. How many miles can the car go on 1 gallon? Now remember, if I write it down or I highlight it, you need to write it in your notes as neatly and completely as you can. So let's set up our blank proportion, because that's how we solve unit rate things here. All right. So we are looking at how many miles can the car go on 1 gallon of gas. Remember, where does the 1 go? The 1 I always put the 1 right here. I like having the 1. It makes me feel good to put it there. 1 what though? What are we looking for? How many miles can the car go on 1 gallon of gas? So that's 1 gallon right there. And so we're looking for miles. And so over here where we start, we know that we have gallons and we have miles to start. Now we know that it'll go 2 2/3 gallons, and it'll go 130 miles on that. So the things that we're looking for, we can see that the units on top and bottom match up. We're talking miles over gallons and miles over gallons. And but you see there's that mixed number there, so we're going to change that mixed number to an improper fraction. Remember how to do that? We multiply the whole number times the denominator, and then we add the numerator. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 2 is 8, but we keep the denominator the same, 8/3. So 8/3 of a gallon. Now, you got to ask yourself at this point, what do I multiply by to get from 8/3 of a gallon to 1? And remember, when you want to get 1 and you're multiplying, you have to multiply by the reciprocal of your starting number, the original factor. What is the reciprocal of 8/3? Well, that's 3/8. 8/3 times 3/8 is 1. And you remember, if you do that in the denominator of your ratio, you have to do the exact same thing in the numerator as well. So I'm going to multiply 130 times 3/8. So 130, and I'm going to do this over here. 130 multiplied by 3/8. And remember, I can't multiply a fraction times a whole number, so I got to put a 1 under the 130. Now, 130 times 3 is 390. And 1 times 8 is 8. Okay, fantastic. But now, what is 390 divided by 8? I have to finish this up. I have one more step. 390 divided by 8 is 48.75. Or that would be 48 3/4. Either one is fine. We'll say 48.75. So the car can travel 48.75 miles on 1 gallon of gas. That's some really good gas mileage. Now, we found the unit rate. It'll go, and let's write that down, 48.75 miles per gallon. Great, we got that. But we're not done. It says how many miles would go on a full tank of gas. And a full tank is 13.2 gallons. This part's actually super simple. We know how many it'll go on 1 gallon. It'll go 48.75 miles on 1 gallon. So how far will it go on 13.2 gallons? Well, it seems fairly straightforward. It would seem. How do I get from 1 to 13.2? Well, I have to multiply by 13.2. 1 times 13.2 is 13.2. 48.75 times that same 13.2 is how much? And that would be 643.5 miles. If I did my calculations right, 48.75 times 13.2. 643.5 miles on 13.2 gallons of gas. So my final answer, how far will it go on a full tank? 643.5 miles is the distance it'll travel on 1 tank of fuel. All right, so that's extending unit rates. Sometimes they'll give you the information about the 2 2/3 gallons in 130 miles, and it won't ask you how far it'll go in 1 gallon. It'll just go straight to how many miles can it travel on a full tank. You're going to have to find the unit rate first. Always find the unit rate first. Always find the unit rate first. And with that advice, I'm going to say farewell. Have a great day. Don't forget to be awesome, and I'll see you next time.